So I've been playing Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. Now, having just played the Phantom Pen, I figured that it would be a fun idea to actually review all of the other MGS games canonically, as so far all I have is 2 spin-offs and a fairly lackluster review of Metal Gear Solid 4. I mean, the video itself is fine, but it's more so me just talking about the game for a bit rather than an actual review. So as to what I'll do with that, I don't know. I might redo it, or maybe I'll just do another MGS4 related video. I don't know, we shall see. But yeah, I really wanted to go back and play all of the other games and then review them as I go along at my own pace. And, of course, we should kick this shit off with the game that started it all. Is what I would have said if the game wasn't really very old and, quite frankly, horribly dated. Yeah, while I do appreciate it for what it did in its time, it's really not a great experience for a Nancy boy like me what grew up with over tutorialized linear schlock. I mean, the story isn't there at all, and you're probably better off reading the summary that MGS1 gives, as it actually has more drama and writing in it than the actual game. The AI is exceptionally stupid and brutal, and at the same time the guards respawn almost constantly. The menus are hell, the controls are stiff as dicks, there aren't any set pieces at all, and really the only good thing about it is the game's soundtrack. It has some clever ideas, sure, but all of those got infinitely better as the series continued, starting with its sequel. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2 is actually pretty fucking great still, apart from a few not so good puzzles. I'd review it right now if it wasn't for the fact that I actually played through it not so long ago, and that my review of Ghost Babel could just as well be applied to it in its entirety. Seriously, from a gameplay standpoint, it's virtually the same fucking game, so while I will come back to this one later down the line, we should start off where the series truly took off. If there wasn't a remake, which is actually the version that I played growing up and what introduced me to the series and has aged quite a lot better overall. I'm bad at this. The story of Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes takes place in the distant future of 2005. A renegade special forces unit consisting out of genetically enhanced freaks called Foxhound have taken over a nuclear weapons disposal facility. To aid them in whatever it is that they're doing there, they've also acquired a nuclear-equipped bipedal tank called Metal Gear, and their leader is a mysterious man called Liquid Snake. All of this sounds pretty fucking evil if you ask me, so it is a good thing then that our hero Solid Snake is here to save the day. Ooh. Man. Now, if you know anything about the Metal Gear series, it's either the long and overly dramatic cutscenes or the now infamous codec calls. And this game is where it all started. Or, well, the PS1 original anyway. But still, this game is very, and I mean very, cutscene heavy. And on top of that, there is a huge chunk of the dialogue taking place in the just mentioned codec calls, which is a communication system thingy that is more or less a way for the game's designers to avoid having to render and program about 2 movies worth of cinematics. It's a bit lazy in some ways, and I can't imagine it being off-putting to a lot of people, but I quite frankly love it. Because of the game's acting, music, and writing, there's this constant dreading feel to everything, which, to me at least, makes these codec calls very intriguing to listen to. Like, there's always some kind of mystery on the verge of being uncovered, and it really does a good job of at least attempting to make the huge exposition dump that it in all actuality is seem very interesting. And the actual cutscenes are pretty fucking good as well. I like it a lot. Despite all of that pesky story stuff though, this is of course a video game. And as a video game, you push buttons to make it do things. So what you do is work your way through the facility, triggering cutscenes and codec calls as you go along. And in between doing that, you have to solve what are essentially stealthy puzzles. You see, the entire facility is segmented into rooms all separated by loading screens. And each of these rooms has a number of guards, cameras, and other miscellaneous obstacles you need to sneak past in order to get to the next room, aka a set piece. To make shit actually doable though, Snake has the ability to crawl underneath things, lean up against walls, punch and kick in the most awkward way imaginable, and use a variety of weapons. And that's pretty much it. It derives from the format here and there during boss fights and a couple of actiony events, but most of your time on Shadow Moses Island is spent doing the sneak and watching video. Now, on a bonus disc documentary thingy that I got along with Metal Gear Solid 2, Hideo Kojima stated that he'd used to design the levels with Lego. And playing this, it really shows. I mean, apart from the fact that you can shoot in first person, it is still in most cases a 2D game. And while the later games do expand on this a lot, the Twin Cakes plays like the 2D outings of the series as the level design is still exactly the same. There aren't really too many things that require you to go in first person, like the bomb disposal stuff from the second game for instance. There are some elevations, sure, but those are mostly cosmetic as they don't really add much of anything mechanically. I like it though. It's simple, straightforward, and easy to understand, and all of which probably mean the same fucking thing. But the addition of first person, however, does seem to break the game just a tiny little bit. Thing is that the OG Metal Gear Solid didn't have any first person shooting, so the game was never built around that. For the most part though, it just makes things a little bit less awkward, and that's pretty fucking great. But I can't really say the same about the bosses. Where there used to be a tactical game of cunning, wits, and blindly shooting at walls, there is now this. Yeah, you just look at them, shoot, and then they die. Most of the times, you really don't have to aim at all because the game tends to lock you on automatically as well, so the bosses went from challenging and perhaps a bit tedious to practically being non-existent. And that's when it kinda started to dawn to me that the game may just be a teensy-weensy bit unbalanced. I mean, for starters, the first two rooms are actually the hardest part of the entire game sneak-wise, because you don't have an entire armory at your disposal, and you're still kinda getting used to the rather unwieldy controls. So, sneaking through these places without dying is much harder than any of the set pieces presented later on. Mostly though, this is because of the fact that it blows the majority of its load right then and there. Things like the footprints, the tactical infiltration, and the searchlights don't really return at any other point in the game. They do reappear in later games, but as far as the Twin Socks goes, the game kinda turns into shoot guy to progress straight after. I mean, you always have your silenced tranquilizer gun, well, in normal mode anyway. So really, you can just pop a dart in every dude you come across with little to no consequence at all. While I don't really mind, especially because I think the game does enough to cover it up with atmosphere and story, it does kinda show how incredibly shallow and simple the game is in its overall design. Don't get me wrong, it has some great ideas, but it doesn't really explore them at all after they've been introduced, and it seems to be more focused on funneling you down a hallway to get you to the next big cool thing rather than giving you legit sneaking challenges. And that's quite sad if you ask me. Something else that also started bothering me the more I thought about it was how needlessly cryptic the game can be sometimes. And while that could be cool when you get to solve it all by yourself, you really never do. It always ends with frustratingly calling the colonel and him just outright telling you what to do. I honestly feel that this is something that gets lost in nostalgia a little. Things like the Psycho Mantis battle, for instance, which breaks the fourth wall in a lot of ways, is often remembered as, "Whoa, I can't believe I found that out, dude." While in all actuality, it would have more likely been something along the lines of, "Whoa, dude, I fucking hate this game, it's pissing me off. I guess I'll fucking call someone again. Oh wait, what? I need to change the controller ports. What the fuck, man? How was I supposed to know that?" And the truth is, you weren't really supposed to know, as there isn't really a way you could have. As I said, it is quite cute and I still like it a lot, but it's just a wee bit bullshitty from a design standpoint. All of that said though, something what I like more than anything else is just how eerie the game is. Like, it's a bit hard to explain, but the music and visuals paint a very dark and sterile view of the Shadow Moses facility. It's not quite horror material, but I think that's why it works as well as it does. I mean, by and large, this is a story about military stuff, but then, all of a sudden, distant whispers and screams start happening, gothic music starts playing, and a floating dude with a gas mask starts floating around the place like a floating dude with a gas mask. And to me, that kinda created the feeling that literally anything could happen. Which, especially when you're younger, could translate to something vaguely resembling scary. Add to that the idea that pretty much everyone involved doesn't seem to be all that trustworthy, and you end up with something that, well, again, just feels very eerie. I honestly don't know how good of a job I just did explaining this, but I hope that the music playing right now should at least convey it to some degree. But in any case, if you like cinematics, mild psychological horror, and the most arcadey and dumbed down stealth gameplay ever conceived, then this is definitely a game you might want to try.
Let me read your memory card. Oh, it seems you like... Shrek 2? Fuck it. Burn, you heathen. Burn!